why are half you guys asleep? It's like the teacher's teaching you like one of the most important things of this lesson and nobody's actually listening. I said before, it's like people walk around with trash and it's like, why are there no bins? And it's like, oh yeah, but there was like a terrorist situation that happened and we don't want that to happen again, so we can't have bins. And I'm like, yeah, but that would, if the same logic applied to the US, they wouldn't have planes, right? Like, it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't connect. And I feel like,
What's your name?
so no, my name is Peter Rogers, and yeah, Australian, been in Japan for about 15 years.
Is it long to be here for 15 years?
They always say that there's like a 3-year like drop off. If you live past 3 years in Japan, then you're going to be here forever. And those that find struggles living in Japan and don't like it, then usually within 3 years they're gone. So I think anyone that's been past 3 years, generally they spend quite a lot of time here. So I didn't even realize that it was 15 years until I started thinking about it.
Wow. What was the biggest struggle for you within the first 3 years living in Japan?
I think it's just getting set up. Like I feel like the hardest week in Japan was probably the first one, where like the language is tricky and everything like that, and you're trying to, especially if you've studied overseas, right? So you've learned from textbooks, and then the way that people speak over here is very different. And then the very difficult words that you never really understand or you've never heard of and aren't in textbooks start to come up, and it becomes really challenging. Like, trying to find a house, and it's like reikin. What the hell is reikin? It's a key money. It's like, key money? What? I don't even understand what key money is. Like, So there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't really exist, and you're trying to figure out what it is. And then you've got the challenge of, to get a house, you need to have a phone number, and to get a phone number, you have to have like a Zaidyu card or something like that. And to get that, you have to have a house. So it's like this negative loop where you're just stuck, not able to do anything. So then you kind of have to figure things out. But after banging your head against a wall for about a week trying to get that sorted, and once you've finished it, then it's pretty blissful moving in. But yeah, that first week, trying to set yourself up with all of the things you need to get by in life is very, very tricky.
What initially brought you to Japan?
So my very first time to Japan, I was working. So I came over on a school trip. So just a 2-week school trip, high school. I was studying Japanese at the time, so they do a exchange. So I went to Rikyo Koko, which is quite a nice school. Met lots of really cool people there and had a great time. And then after that 2 weeks, went back to Australia. And then after coming back to Japan, I studied in Etiquette for 3 months during high school. Went back to Australia again, and then came back for university. So there was a little bit of time where I was kind of in between Japan and Australia quite a bit. But yeah, it's been a long road to 15 years.
What was the biggest culture shock for you as a high schooler, Australian?
Well, I mean, it's just very rigid. Like, I mean, the school that I went to was, relatively proper, and it was a, not too chaotic like some of the other schools that I've been to. But, the school that I went to was very relatively strict, and everyone was, very focused. But I think that one of the things that kind of tripped me up a lot was like, it's very focused. The students are going hard at their bukatsu, their after school events and that sort of thing, and then they get into class and half of them are asleep. I was like, why are half you guys asleep? It's like the teacher's teaching you like one of the most important things of this lesson and nobody's actually listening. And the teacher's just like, yeah, they were at Juku until 11 p.m. at night, so just let them rest. And I had a lot of difficulty understanding how that was the best way to study. So that was a big cultural difference. But especially 20 years ago, like, there was very few foreigners in Japan at that time still. So especially in the area that I was, which was kind of, I didn't say Nagoya, I said Aichi for a reason. It was outside of the city of Nagoya. So it was quite regional, and being probably the first foreigner that a lot of the Japanese people in the area had seen, it was quite funny to just see them like get surprised at the fact that there was a foreigner in their area. So that was fun.
Have you had any funny experiences there?
There was a lot of times where it was, because I was still very, very early in my Japanese language journey, And, you know, we were getting ready for PE, getting ready for physical education class. And I was getting around and was trying to find my pants. And I was like, pants doko. And everyone was like, because, you know, pants in Japanese apparently means underwear. They thought it was hilarious. So just like small stuff like that where it was just, you know, pants. This is an English word that means pants. And they've kind of taken it out of context. But I thought it was kind of funny. And then they'd teach me wrong Japanese, and I would constantly make fun of myself by saying words that I definitely shouldn't have been saying because they told me it meant homework or something like that. So that was kind of funny, but it was a bit challenging. And the other thing was, I don't think they expected me to keep up with the classes because I was doing standard classes in Japanese in high school, and I was barely able to write and read Japanese. So they weren't expecting me to keep up. They were just wanting me to sit in class and like be part of it. So I didn't have too much struggles with the lessons because there was very low expectations on me. But one of the things that I did find, and it was funny, I was speaking to my host family a little while after I came back. So maybe 15 years after I had left their house and I went back. They were like, "You're always so tired." And it was funny. I hadn't really thought about it, but because I was constantly trying to think in Japanese, and my mind was moving at a speed faster than it usually has to, then I was just getting tired constantly. So I kind of found that was something that I didn't really expect. But it's funny because I've got a 10-year-old son now, and when I took him to Australia, his first day of school, he usually stays up till about 9:30ish. First day of school in Australia after being in Japanese school the whole time. First day he got back home from school and it was like 7 p.m. and he was brushing his teeth. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He was like, I'm going to bed." So I feel like I was seeing that and it just kind of clicked with me. I'm like, yeah, this is exactly how I was when I was in Japan on exchange. So the whole brain constantly churning when you're usually in cruise control when you're in your native language. I think that was also something that was quite interesting. Yeah, so his native language is Japanese. He goes to regular Japanese primary school. So when he went to Australia, it was a bit of a culture shock. You know, it was very different. Long recess and lunch breaks and these sort of things. So it was very different to how he has been studying in Japan. But yeah, the language was definitely something that he was trying to pick up as he went.
All right. What's it like to be a foreign parent in Japan, having a kid who speaks Japanese as a native language?
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite a lot of the time. It's just things that are for me completely foreign. So it'll be something that all of the other Japanese parents have gone through. They've lived it. It's something that they've done every day when they were in junior school. And then for me, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So I ask a question about it, and I kind of need to put on my learning hat, and instead of being a parent, I'm just kind of like, what's this about? So it's kind of funny when all of these things that people are just like, it's exactly the same as it has been for 30, 40 years. And for me, I'm like, I didn't experience junior school in Japan, so it's new for me. So like the whole kyushoku thing and all of the things they do for class, and I was like, sankanbi, like, what the hell is sankanbi? I'm like, I don't know what this is, but then I go and I'm like, okay, so it's not parent-teacher interview, it's a parent attending class. I'm like, so I thought that was kind of funny, but I think that my son's very well liked within the class, so he's made a lot of friends. So for me, it's very comfortable to go in and see him enjoying and settling in and being part of the Japanese community. He's half Japanese, so he kind of, you can see that he's a little bit foreigner, but he's also very Japanese in the way that he interacts with everyone else. So, but yeah, as a dad, like there's not that many half or because he's going to just a regular Japanese school. He's not going to international school, so it would be nice to make some more of the foreign or father of half children friends and kind of get them together. I haven't seen too many communities around that, but I think that it would be great to kind of get them a bit more engaged with that. So I'm not sure if there's groups or anything like that, but I have tried to reach out and catch up with a couple of people within the school community that do have half kids as well. So it's been interesting, and everyone's got their own challenges. So yeah.
May I ask what you do in Japan?
Yeah, so I run my own company. I consult in 3D printing technologies. I help a lot of unique tools coming to the Japanese market, but I also help Japanese companies understand the 3D printing landscape, go overseas and find technologies that might help them in their manufacturing journeys with the technology. So there's a couple of different things that I do. And, I run my own company, but it's, just me. So I do everything hands-on, whether it's supporting the customers, but it also comes through to like doing the tax and doing all the legal work and all these sort of things. So it's been a very eye-opening experiment to go into all of the different aspects of Japanese business, and going into the Zeimusho, going into the Homokyoku, registering the business. Trying to get a bank account for the company, which is surprisingly one of the most tricky things.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because, banks, what's their main job? To increase the amount of accounts, increase the amount of money that they have so they can reinvest it. But I tried to get a bank account for the company, and it was like, oh yeah, you can, we can book you in to come in for an interview to get a bank account in 6 months. I was like, I've just registered the company today, and you're expecting me to have no money coming in and out over the next 6 months? What am I meant to do? So some of the internet banks are available, and I was able to get one of them a lot more quickly. But some of the larger banks, like the mega banks in Japan, it almost feels like they don't want to take on any new accounts. So that was kind of frustrating.
I see. What's the custom that is specifically only maybe available in Japan, and that kind of you thought is tricky, or things like that?
Yeah, I think that Japan's really a relationship-based business society. So compared to when I'm overseas and meeting up with other customers, going out for dinner, going out for after-dinner drinks, going out for after-dinner drinks, and then going to karaoke and like all these different things. It's something that's very foreign to most people. Like it's not something that you're used to. So, but it's not so much about we need to do it. It's more about, okay, I know the music that you like now. We sang Backstreet Boys at karaoke or something. We've had drinks. You were talking about family. So it's kind of like understanding the person behind their position. Yeah. And I really feel like that's something that, I've tried really hard to get to know people that I work with, build out really strong relationships with them. And, I think everyone that I've worked with is fascinating. It's a very unique industry that we're in. So everyone's like a little bit more, they're very innovative with their thinking. They've got a lot of very interesting ideas. So I really enjoy working with the people that I work with, even though, I'm a one-person company, but all of the people that I work with on the customer side are very interesting. But yeah, definitely the going out and, last night I was out till about 3 a.m. There's dinner, drinks, karaoke, and by the time it gets to the end of the day, you get home and it's almost time to start the next day, right? So it's a very busy lifestyle. I think that's probably the main interesting point for me.
When you go to karaoke with your Japanese customers, do you have any go-to Japanese karaoke songs?
Yeah, I kind of have to learn a couple of different generational songs, because if I'm going with younger people, then they want to hear some younger songs. If I go with like people that are about my age or a little bit older, they want to hear some like more rock songs, like Lunacy or like Glay or some of these kind of bands. And then when I go with some of the older customers, they want to hear, a little bit more of a different style of song. So like some Original Love and these kind of guys. So, but yeah, no, I kind of try and adapt my set list to the age that what they're singing, as well as, the age of the people that I go with, so that they can get into the songs. So many times I'll just go to karaoke and I'll be singing, especially when I first arrived, I'll just be singing songs. Everyone's like, I don't know this song. Like, what is this guy singing? Okay, it's good, but whatever. So now I try and make it more relatable. And I think they kind of appreciate the effort to learn specific songs from specific generations. But personally, I like rock music. So it's been easy for me to pick up some of the rock songs because they're a bit slower than the pop and the more like R&B songs. So yeah, so rock's good.
Very interesting. Like the way you like choosing the songs,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
it sounds very Japanese businessman.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I do is like if I find a band that I like, usually I'll try and not pick like, if you look at like the rankings of the bands, I'll be like, I don't want to touch the top 5 songs, because if I go to karaoke with somebody and that's their favorite song that they wanted to sing, then it's like, I want you to sing that song. So I kind of look at like the B ranked or the C ranked songs from that band so that I can kind of allow them to have their moment. And, you know, it doesn't matter to me. I didn't grow up with these songs. I'm just kind of learning new ones. So trying to avoid overlapping with songs that they might want to sing is something that is probably also very Japanese in the way that I choose the songs at karaoke. But yeah, you know.
What's your favorite part of the Japanese culture?
Favorite part of Japanese culture. I kind of like just the way that everyone kind of is very, you know, thoughtful to each other. You know, it's not so much that, you know, everyone loves each other and they kind of like want them to be happy. I think that quite a lot of the time it's like the social rules. Sometimes when I go back overseas to Australia or to the US or even Europe, you know, everyone's kind of me first, like what's in it for me? Why can't I do this? And I feel like in Japan, it's like, well, you know, it might be more comfortable for me to do this, but I'm not going to do it because, you know, it's not socially acceptable. And it's not so much that there's a law, or it's not so much that they'll be, you know, causing a huge problem. Like, for example, like carrying rubbish around. It's a pain to carry rubbish around all the time, but there's no bins. So Japanese people just do it, you know, in the way that you look at the streets, like it's some of the most clean place, like considering the population, it's one of the most clean places in the world. And I feel like that's because they have respect that we don't want to disrespect the location. We don't want to do these sort of things. And even on the trains, you know, people aren't taking calls, they're not shouting, they're not playing music. And you go to the US and everyone's got their iPhone blasting music, and it's like, headphones? Oh, I don't have headphones, you know, but I want to listen to music. It's like, well, not everyone wants to listen to your horrible choice of music. So, right. You know, it's I just feel like everyone is quite not so much respectful to their surroundings, because again, it's not always out of respect. Sometimes it's out of just social rule. But just the way that people take care of each other and the way that they engage with their environment, I appreciate that quite a lot.
After 15 years of living in Japan, getting integrated in the Japanese society, is there anything else? Is there anything still you do not understand about Japanese culture?
I feel like I have a good grasp. Like, I understand why certain things happen. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, I understand why, but why is that still happening? You know, like, certain things I'm just like, that might have made sense when that was originally decided that we were going to do it that way, but it's not really that relevant anymore. And, you know, because of some of these very ingrained rules and these sort of things, a lot of innovation can't happen. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could happen, but, you know, oh yeah, but we need to think about this, we need to think about that. And sometimes it's just like, let's just give it a go, you know. The desire to actually implement certain things in the West, it's like, let's give it a try. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work, we'll fix it. But you know, here I think that they need to kind of think about every aspect of it before they actually implement it. And sometimes I just want things to go faster. You know, like even like the bike sharing and these sort of things, it's like, you know, there's certain aspects of it that really should work, and there's certain things that, you know, implemented, tested, and it didn't work. And, you know, they've figured out ways to get around that. So that was one thing that I was kind of thinking about, but there's so many different things. It's almost a daily thought. I'm like, why is this still a thing? And, you know, like even with the bins, like the situation where I said before, it's like people walk around with trash and it's like, why are there no bins? And it's like, oh yeah, but there was like a terrorist situation that happened and we don't want that to happen again, so we can't have bins. And I'm like, yeah, but that would, if the same logic applied to the US, they wouldn't have planes, right? Like, sometimes it doesn't connect. And I feel like sometimes it's an excuse, sometimes, and like, let's be honest, there are the bins for the bottles and the cans, and I'm like, there are bins, so it's not like you're completely protecting from everything, but people are still, you got millions and millions of people in this country walking around with stuff in their hands because they don't have a bin. I feel like the collective mindset would be, let's get some bins.
How well do you speak Japanese language?
So I got N1 14 years ago. Yeah, so I think I was about 22 when I got N1, just coming out of my time when I was studying in university at Kansai. So after that, so during that time I'd done the N1, finished that. Well, actually that was before N1 actually existed. It was still EQ. And then since then it's just been building on the vocab and learning a lot of stuff that I, again, don't really need to know, but just lots of weird words entering my ears due to the conversations that I have with various different customers in various different industries. So sometimes I'm just like, why do I need to know this word? But, it's a technical phase, so it's useful for me, but nobody else needs it.
賢いんですね。What's your favorite word, Japanese word?
Ooh, favorite Japanese word. There's
Any concept?
favorite concepts. There's not really one specific concept. Like, I mean, that's the thing with Japan. It's a not just one concept that kind of makes it work. There's hundreds of different concepts that make Japan work, and to kind of put it into one word, I feel would be demining the language. But
Do you have any favorite kanji character?
favorite kanji. I used to really like, I got like a fude pen when I was in high school. So when I was waiting in class and everything was going on around me and I didn't know what was going on, I'd be writing two characters that I kind of liked practicing the fude pen with, was I and Yume. So I kind of, love, I think that it's a very beautiful looking character. The character for Yume, I kind of feel like is also, quite beautiful, like the structure of it. I love looking at some of the very difficult kanji. Some of them you look at it and you're like, this has way too many strokes. This is like an entire sentence worth of strokes in English. And it's just one character. So, like even the ones that Japanese people can't write, like bada and remo and my favorite one, bian bian men no bian. It's like, there's like 36 strokes or something like that. It's crazy. So I'm always surprised when I see a character and I'm like, I don't know what that one is. But I'm kind of like more impressed with the fact that, like, even though it's like the same character, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this is Yume. And it's like, no, this is Red Mu in this situation. I'm like, oh, well, okay. Like the combination of the characters is also quite interesting for me. So, it's like Uma, Shika, Baka. Baka means idiot. I'm like, they're both pretty smart animals, right? Like, why does this work? But, I think that, especially for me, one of the things that I am really interested in is I have like this really strong interest in people's last names. So whenever I meet people, the Japanese tradition, bow, hand them the business card. I love getting a very rare name. Like Tanaka Suzuki and these kind of ones, I'm like, okay, like, I mean, I still like you, but when I get one that's like, this is a very rare name, like there's a website that I love using, which is like Myoji Yurei, and it's like, you look at it, it tells you how many people have that name in Japan. So I'll look it up and it'll be like, there is only 40 people in Japan with this last name, and I met one of them. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So that's really fun. And, like, it's really interesting because if you look on that website, it also has like the breakdown of where these people live. So it'll be like, people with this name, 90% of them live in this one village, and it's, the reason why it's this is you kind of like learn the history, and it's very fascinating looking into the last names of people. So in English we don't usually have that as much, like it's not as common to have a rare last name where you're like never heard that last name before. So I feel like that's a unique thing about Japan that really it might sound a bit weird, but like I really enjoy looking at people's last names and learning them. And even with the same like pronunciation of the name, they'll have various different ways of writing it, and it's like, oh yeah, sorry, no, your kanji is this one, you know, oh no, that's this one, you know. So I always find that quite interesting.
If you don't come up with your favorite Japanese word,
Yeah.
that was it from my side.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Do you have the favorite Japanese word now?
I guess as a businessman, one of my favorite words is setsuze. Like, I mean, you know, being a business owner, you need to figure out the best way to kind of be thoughtful with your money. So, you know, I spend a lot of time, you know, chatting with my friends about different ways that we can kind of build the business to be very effective with the money. And don't get me wrong, I still spend a lot of money on taxes in Japan. But, you know, figuring out ways to kind of ensure that, you know, we're working within the system. Of course, we don't want to do anything illegal, so we always making sure that we're very cautious about how we do it. But I feel like setsuze is a very strong Japanese word. Every Japanese person gets relatively excited when you start talking about setsuze. So any business owner is like, yes, setsuze. This is one of the big things that we think about as well. So I feel like that's a word that every business owner should be very well aware of.
Right. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, right.
All right, Peter. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's it.